understand it. Some of the answers can't be answered. For instance, I do not know what costs to run the Solon jail, so I cannot really accurately answer the question as to why one is significantly different in price than the other. Can you just give us a brief reason why we are switching to the Solon, City of Solon, and why it's significantly less?
Donna Cleo's on the call too. Good morning, everybody. So if Warden Henry, if you want to start, if you need my assistance, just let me know.
Well, I can start by saying that the partnership is going to impact our population by allowing us to have multiple inmates who are sentenced for misdemeanors report directly to Solon as opposed to our facility. And while they only have 2 beds, we're actually talking quite a large number of offenders simply because they're serving very short sentences, some only 3, 5, 10 days. And as soon as that one is released, we have another one that will report that same day when the bed is empty. So we'll be able to get those beds filled throughout our partnership. As for the cost between what it costs us as opposed to Solon, I would imagine that there's a lot of different operational procedures that they follow as opposed to what we're using. And I can't really speak on what their operation is, but I can say that they are going to provide us with the same care that we would provide our offenders here.
Okay, so you're comfortable in that statement?
Absolutely. In the event that there would be a reason to transport the offender to a hospital, they will do so. They will transport them, and then they will send us the information as far as the medical treatment and the needs.
And as far as the answer was given to us by Donna, there are no inmates at Bedford now, so that's not an operating facility. That isn't really an option anyway. Am I understanding that right?
That's correct. Bedford is closed. There is no staffing, and there are no inmates at that facility.
All right. Well, good. That helps. I appreciate you giving me that explanation. Thank you.
Sure.
Are there any further questions on this item from the board?
Yes, I have an additional question. I saw Donna Khalil's report saying that the per diem per day at the downtown facility is now expected to come in at $175 to $180 a day. Am I correct that the city of Cleveland is only paying us $100 a day or a couple dollars more than that, and that we can under our current contract we can only increase that by a couple of % a year?
Good morning, Councilman.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, this is Bob Corey. I'll respond first, Donna. So
okay.
Yeah, that is correct. But the $175 and $180 that Donna has pointed up is a outlier due to the low population in the county jail, and is not reflective of our consistent annualized cost. For example, in our municipal contracts, Donna, correct me if I'm wrong, we're charging our new municipalities $120. While $120 is still significantly higher than $100, it's still in line with our average daily population, and therefore the $175 or $180 number is an artificial number at this point. Donna, anything else on that?
And Bob's correct. The ADP last year was around 2,100. The ADP, the annual average daily population this year was 1,461, but cost did not change. So we're spreading, like I said, those same amount of costs across much fewer inmates. So that's why the cost jumped up so high this year.
So suppose that our inmate population is 1,400. Do we have any information on what the incremental cost is? In other words, if we have if we take in one additional prisoner from the city of Cleveland, making it 1,401, how much per day does it cost to provide for that prisoner? That number may or may not be similar to the 175 number that you get by just taking the total cost and dividing by the number of prisoners.
Correct. So the marginal cost of taking on like one more inmate, which of course doesn't affect staffing, things like that. Again, I'm waiting for some final invoices for the month of December, and once I get that finalized, I can send that out. But I'm estimating right now, we're probably talking, because medical costs are pretty high, we're probably talking about $50 to $60, somewhere in there per inmate per day for one additional. That's the marginal cost. Again, because that doesn't affect staffing and things like that. We're still going to have Metro Health in there. We're still going to have, 650 COs or whatever the current number is. So none of that will be affected. So I'm estimating, I would say somewhere in the area of $60 because I do know for sure the average cost for medical per inmate per day is around $30. Again, now some inmates might not have any medical, and other ones have an exorbitant amount of medical. But the daily cost is about $30. So right there, that's just medical. And then when you add in, staffing and everything else, again, I'm estimating around $60. When I get my spreadsheet finalized and the final invoices, I would be happy to send that final cost that the marginal cost out to everyone. And I'm guesstimating that'll probably be somewhere in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. The marginal cost information kind of puts the contract in a little different light. The one follow-up question I have is, could you give me a ballpark on how many prisoners per day on average we're doing on behalf of the city of Cleveland?
That I don't know. Warden Henry, do you have that? Well, here, let me go to a different, hold on one second. Let me find this. Do you want to give me 1 second here? Okay, because Cleveland, let's see. So this is days. I can get that for you in a minute. Didn't know I was going to be asked this. Hold on. Okay, so now this is through, okay, let me see. So days, 2495 divided by, say, 365, so 305 equals, we did 20,000 days. 20,000 days. We do everything by days through the month of October. Do I have that correct? 20,000 days through the month of October. So I'm looking at probably about 65 to 67 Cleveland inmates per day. Again, we have not gotten the November and December invoices for Cleveland finalized. But through October, 20,495 days divided by about 300. So I would say 67 Cleveland inmates per day.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks.
And since today is Monday, for example, which is outliers over the weekend plus the Browns game, we currently have 105 Cleveland inmates. Okay. Some quickly awaiting bond. So I imagine it's going to go down significantly after their first appearances in courtroom 3D today.
Okay. Any final questions on this item?
Mr. Chair, this is Trevor. Just a couple comments, right? I think the number traditionally prior to the pandemic, we were always around, as Bob mentioned, we were always around 100 or so City of Cleveland inmates, give or take. So I don't know if it's gone down to the 60, 65 number on average during the pandemic or not. But I know when we were entered into that agreement, it was always estimated to be around 100 or so City of Cleveland inmates. And then secondly, I would just caution using the word that the numbers are artificial. I mean, I know they've been consistently at, let's call it 1,500 over the last 9 months. I know we dipped down pretty low, but consistently we've been around this number where we're at now for quite some time. And I don't think that's going to go up drastically over the next 6 months, probably longer. So that 180 number, it's a real number. I mean, that's what it's costing per inmate. So, you know, we could be close to 2 years at that price tag. So I would just caution using the word artificial, because for 2020, that's what the number was, and I don't see that drastically changing for 2021. And we're planning a jail for around this number anyway, so I would just be careful about using the word artificial, because that's the number it is right now.
And Trevor, if that does become the new normal, then that probably would be the new per diem rate, if that does become the new normal.
And Trevor, I also appreciate the comment and the perspective. I'll choose a better word, but for example, we haven't really materially changed infrastructure in the jail for to say that 1,400 will be the new normal post-pandemic. So let's say the 1,400 or lower, because we've been below 14. We've been around 1,350 for some time now. So let's just say 1,350, and I think that's where we're at today. In any event, the 1,350, if that became a quote-unquote permanent number, then I believe that we would reduce overhead costs and plan for that according to jail, like either shutting down pods. We wouldn't have to worry about isolation right now. So one of the things we have in the future. So one of the things why we continue to use pods around the jail is because we can't just put everybody in a dorm. We have to focus on isolating inmates, so single cells as much as possible, and then you have to take into account classifications of inmates, which requires us to spread people out. If 1,400 became a new normal, we could probably seriously reduce staff associated with shutting down pods. So you're right, artificial is the wrong word, and so I'm going to avoid that, because you're right, it's a misnomer.
And Bob, right, if when eventually we get a new jail, if that's, seems the way the Justice Center Steering Committee is going, right, then your overhead costs are going to go significantly down. But I'm worried about here for the next, we've had a track record close to a year with that kind of high number for DM, and I don't see that changing too much more, over the next year or so with our current layout of the jail. And I know we're stuck with the 2% increase with City of Cleveland, but as you mentioned, we are charging other cities the 120 or whatever it is. And the City of Cleveland make up the biggest bulk of the cities that we house.
Okay, any final comments on this item? Okay, hearing none, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Trevor.
Seconded by Mr. Mackler. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2021-19, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Homeless Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with the Young Women's Christian Association of Greater Cleveland. Fiscal agent on behalf of A Place for Me for provision of system coordination, planning, and implementation activities for ending and preventing youth homelessness for the period February 1st, 2020 through January 31st, 2021, to extend the time period to January 31st, 2022, to change the terms to increase the commercial general liability insurance requirement effective January 11th, 2021, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $118,000.
Hello, this is Dan Humphrey presenting for the Department of Health and Human Services. We're requesting approval to amend the contract with the YWCA to add an additional year of HUD grant funding. YWCA serves as the fiscal agent for A Place for Me, which is a collective impact initiative among 30 local organizations that work to end and prevent homelessness among youth. YWCA's primary role here is to act, again, as the fiscal agent for A Place for Me, to host the Youth Advisory Board, to host the place for me steering committees, organizational meetings, and to provide technical assistance to the Office of Homeless Services for planning relating to homeless services. We're requesting to add the additional year of grant funding and to amend the insurance requirements to be in line with our other contracts.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Are there any questions from the board members on this item? Hearing none, then I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
This is Trevor.
Seconded by Mr. Mackler. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Moving on to exemptions, item BC 2021-20, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Family and Children First Council, recommending an alternative procurement process on requisition 4450, which will result in award recommendations to various providers in the total amount not to exceed $375,000 for the implementation of the Multi-System Youth Program for the period July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021, with the Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities, Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Court Division, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, and the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board.
Anybody from HHS here?
Dan Humphreys, maybe?
Dan, are you out there?
I'm here, but FCFC should be
Okay.
presenting this one.
Well, if no one presents, I'm going to have to hold it.
Um,
Do you think you can take a stab at it?
No, I apologize. I don't have any briefing materials on this one. I can try to contact them, and if we can do the consent agenda and come back.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll try. Have to be
Okay.
quick. All right. Let's move on to
Someone
consent
just signed on.
for
Is that-
right now.
Moving on to the consent agenda, items BC 2021-21 and 22.
Board members,
Well,
please, please take a moment, board members, to review the consent agenda. We're going to hold on the other item for 1 second. And if you have any questions on today's consent, please feel free to speak. Not much here. Do we have any questions on today's consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, then I will make a motion to approve today's consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second, this is Dale.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, today's consent agenda is approved. Anybody join us from HHS while I'm waiting for the next item? Okay, then moving on, do we have any other business?
No other business.
No other business. Okay, that just leaves me to adjourn.
I would like to make an announcement that the next meeting of the Board of Control will be held on Tuesday, January 19th at 11 a.m. due to the Martin Luther King holiday.
Okay, thank you. Duly noted. Was anyone able to join us from HHS before I adjourn? Okay, we're going to hold this item then, since we have no one here to speak on it. And I am going to make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?